Thomas Keptic, a hard-headed, logical, non-religious exclusivist who uses the scientific method, treating ideas as false until proven true, rather than vice versa. He uses the light of logic in a sincere search for truth, like an explorer of new continents. 2. B, or B-E-E, Lever, an open-hearted, intuitive, religious inclusivist who uses the unscientific and personal method of treating religions as true until proven false. Like a bee, she's engaged in making honey from nectar gathered from many flowers. 3. Professor Fesser, a neutral, scholarly, objective pluralist who uses the aesthetic or artistic method of listening to and looking at each different religious datum carefully before pronouncing on its value, truth, or compatibility with the rest of the data, like a listener at a symphony or a visitor to an art museum. The three isms mean something different in this context, the study of comparative religions, than they do elsewhere. For instance, pluralism doesn't necessarily mean that a society with a plurality of different religions is inevitable or socially or politically preferable. Exclusivism does not necessarily mean that those who do not believe the one and only religion that is totally true cannot be saved. And inclusivism doesn't necessarily mean that religions are all the same, that there are no important differences. Pluralism claims that we don't know whether or not the religions of the world contradict each other. Exclusivism claims that they do. Inclusivism claims that they don't. A personal note on where I'm coming from. This is a work of imaginative exploration, not apologetics. My own position doesn't exactly coincide with any one of these three characters, though I have deep sympathies for all three. Thomas is an atheist, or at least a skeptical agnostic, and a rather negative and cynical one. I made my exclusivist character an atheist simply because atheists tend to be hard-headed, scientific, logical, and critical, not because all atheists are exclusivists. They're not. Or because all exclusivists are atheists. They're not. In fact, most exclusivists are believers, and most believers are, or at least have been, exclusivists. Most of the great theologians, saints, and religious philosophers of the past were exclusivists. I made B an inclusivist, not because all believers are inclusivist. They're not, though some are, but to show a triple difference between her and Thomas: heart versus head, believer versus unbeliever, and inclusivist versus exclusivist. No one of these three differences logically necessitates any of the other two. B can at times be naive, fuzzy thinking, and so open-minded that her brain seemed to spill out. But she can also be very perceptive and profound. As Thomas is a logical left-brain thinker, B is an intuitive right-brain thinker. Professor Fesser believes that a professor, unlike a preacher, ought to be detached, objective, and non-committal, even though this makes him at times appear wishy-washy. But he's a good professor, and a good professor sometimes refuses to profess his own personal beliefs in class, but performs as an actor playing a part, or playing two contrasting parts, so that students can look more clearly and fairly at the objective truth of the issues rather than at their professor's personal, subjective mind. All three positions, and all three characters that espouse them, have problems and faults. I tried to make the characters real, concrete persons, not abstractions, idealizations, or allegories. I find all three of these fictional characters in myself, as parts of myself, and I empathize with all three. With Thomas's hard-headed logic, with B's open-hearted love of wisdom everywhere, and with the professor's fair and even-handed justice. I also find some important truth in all three answers to the question of comparative religions. In exclusivism, because the theologies of different world religions do quite clearly appear to contradict each other. In inclusivism, because the moralities and spiritualities of the world's great religions do really appear to profoundly agree about the most important questions, and the saints of different religions are strikingly similar, even when their beliefs are strikingly different. And in pluralism, because religions do really appear to be as individual as people, with no one